Heading towards the room off to the side of the club, when I push the curtain aside, I spot Bash not too far away, seated around a half-moon table covered in crimson felt. 3 other patrons are seated at the same table, a small creature with a bored look on her face, and a beautiful Ketalfin couple who look far too finely dressed for a place like this. Dealing a set of cards in front of each seat is a woman who, curiously, I notice has 4 arms. As I step closer to the table, I realize that while her upper arms look natural enough, the bottom are completely robotic, much like Bash's, and assist her with dealing the cards at lightning speed.
Last chance to place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
Bash pushes a stack of chips further onto the table, and as I step up behind him, I finally notice Riona at his side. It would be an understatement to say that the look on her face at the sight of his bet is one of pure horror.
Sebastian, that amount of money would be enough to feed the entire crew for a month. What are you thinking?
Bash sits back in his seat, arms folded casually over his chest, and a lopsided grin on his lips.
I know what I'm doing, Ree.
This is how they draw you in, you know. You get a few wins, and next thing you know, it's completely gone over your head, and you end up losing everything. Next thing, you'll be betting the ship itself.
Bash snorts at her accusation, and Riona looks less than impressed by the reaction.
And risk the unholy wrath of our dear old captain? Not likely.
I watch their argument, if that's what it can be called, with mild amusement. It ends when Riona crosses her arms over her chest, turning slightly away from Bash, and purses her lips into what I can only describe as a pout. Forgetting the angry Talari for a moment, Bash leans closer to me, his voice an excited whisper.
The rules are simple, my friend. If the card shows 3 crowns, you get another draw. The hourglass represents 12, that's a high card. And this one over here...
I stare at him, utterly perplexed, and his voice fades away into nothing. What exactly about any of this is simple? Bash studies me for a moment, before giving a casual shrug of his shoulders and clearing his throat intently.
Just watch what I do. You'll pick it up soon enough.
Riona and I share a look. By the deep grooves forming on her forehead, I'd say she's less than pleased about the situation. I give a nod of my head, indicating that I'm paying attention. Riona clicks her tongue, unimpressed. I wonder for a moment why she chooses to hang around if she despises gambling so much. But then assume it's to ensure that, despite what he says, Bash doesn't actually bet the ship, or something equally important. The dealer flips another card, and Bash's lips quirk further. It bears the image of a goblet.
We've got this in the bag, Nico. I hope you're ready to win some serious credits.
Practically shaking with excitement, Bash drums his fingers on the table, unblinking as his gaze follows the dealer's swift movements. The dealer flips the final card. 4 feather quills. My eyes dart to his face, expecting to find a triumphant smile, but instead I'm met with a look of pure horror.
That was supposed to be 2 crossed swords.
And this young lady is our winner.
The dealer gestures to the small creature at the end of the table and slides a considerable amount of chips over to her, which she chirps at happily.
Now look what you've done. I told you.
Bash places a hand on her arm to calm her before she can finish her sentence, and she stops abruptly.
Relax a little, will ya? Enjoy yourself. We have enough trouble to deal with later. It's just a bit of fun, yeah? Let me buy you a drink.
I look at Riona, who seems anything but relaxed. In fact, she's been quite on edge ever since we landed on Terranium. She leans in to whisper something to Bash, and I only just catch her words over the buzz surrounding us.
Don't forget what happened the last time I was on this planet.
Bash fixes his eyes on Riona, both bionic and real.
I'll never forget.
He smiles at her for a moment, and I swear his face is softer somehow. Deciding to try and lighten the situation, I clap a hand on Bash's shoulder, squeezing it gently in a show of support. I feel a little bad for him, but at the same time, it was fun. Well, for what it's worth, I had fun.
Of course you did! Who wouldn't have fun here?
Bash gives Riona a pointed look, who only huffs an impatient breath and pretends not to notice.
But we should probably take a break. It's important to know when to stop. Or whatever Riona says, I don't really get it, to be honest.
The dealer throws us an impatient look, and Bash quickly ushers Riona and I away from the table.
I just don't want to see you fall into more than you can handle. Gambling can become an addiction. You know that.
Bash shushes Riona and stops her with his hands on either side of her arms, giving her a more serious look.
I appreciate that you worry about me, Rhea. I really do. But it's just one night of letting loose and having some fun. How about you push aside that little medic voice in your head and have some fun with us? Nothing bad will happen, I promise.
I get the impression that Riona is trying to resist, but the worry swiftly fades from her face, followed instead by a look of defeat.
Fine. But I'm holding you to that promise.
Bash grins in triumph, accepting her resignation by ruffling her hair affectionately, to which she hisses at him in annoyance. Riona gives him a pointed look before letting out a long, tired sigh.
You two, do what you want. I'm going to go and find somewhere a little quieter to wait this all out.
Okay. I'm gonna keep an eye on the table, jump back in when things are picking up again.
Well, someone has to keep an eye on Bash. Might as well be me. I'll stick around. I'm curious to see if Bash is actually going to win this jackpot he's been bragging about.
I'll see you both later. Try to stay out of trouble, okay?
Riona waves goodbye before disappearing through the crowd, and I turn back to Bash to find him almost bouncing on the spot as his eyes dart around the room excitedly. Shaking my head, I grin and pull him by the arm to get his attention. So, what should we do next?
Since cards was a total bust, let's go hit the slots. That way we can talk some more.
I follow Bash to a line of machines, sitting on the stool of the one next to his and watching him pop a coin into the slot and pull the lever. The machine whirs and spins, then once it finally comes to a stop, it dings a few times, and Bash's face lights up.
Hey, would you look at that? Pure good luck, Nico.
I laugh, watching Bash pull the lever again, and his credits increase when the slots stop rolling. Doesn't your bionic eye give you X-ray vision? Couldn't you just, I don't know, see the cards earlier before the dealer drew them? He snorts, as if the very idea is preposterous, pulling the lever one more time.
Oppo and I are buddies and all, but if they caught me cheating in their club, not even Calderon would be enough to scare off their guns.
Bash points to a couple of Arknos, both of whom are considerably larger than Oppo, and I nod in understanding. Oh
is right. Try getting knocked on your ass by one of those things. It is not much fun, I'm telling you now. Shoot!
Bash curses and thumps the machine in front of him, and I take a wild guess that he's lost his money once again. With a defeated sigh, he turns to me, offering a close-lipped smile.
Looks like our luck ran out, kid.
I offer him a sympathetic smile, taking the chance to look around the room a little more. So, how does it feel to be home? With a sigh, Bash glances around the room, taking it all in.
As nostalgic as it all is, not all my memories of this place are good.
Will you tell me about it? Bash pauses for a moment, as if deciding exactly where to start his story.
It was rough growing up here. I was alone for most of my childhood. My mother was, well, she wasn't a very good mother. Let's leave it at that. So, when she left, which of course she did, I had to fend for myself. It wasn't much different to what I had already been doing, but there's a difference. Knowing you're truly alone in the world.
I swallow thickly, never guessing Bash would have had such a rough start to life, especially when he always comes off so happy-go-lucky.
I met this guy, Hawk, who ran one of the smaller arenas in town. I started fighting for money. I was good at it. Really good. But I got mixed up in some bad stuff. You ever heard of the drug Rust?
I shake my head, the name completely foreign to me.
Good. Keep it that way. It's lethal. It's made from a substance used to fuel droids, bots, mech. To machines, it's a daily necessity, like food or water. To human, it makes you faster, stronger, smarter, better. But the after effects are hell. So you keep taking it, canceling out that dreaded calm down where you're left sick as a dog. Shaking, sweating, vomiting, hallucinations. Not to mention what it makes you look like. The rusty orange color it turns your blood. The cloudiness in your eyes. Like I said, kid, bad stuff.
It takes me a second to realize he means that he took that drug. That he's talking from personal experience. You took that drug?
I wasn't just taking it. I figured out how to extract the fuel from dead and dying bots and sell it cheaper than the gangs. I was desperate back then. Stupid, too. Once the gang leaders found out what I was doing, they saw it as a problem and dealt with it in the only way they knew how.
Bash flexes his bionic hand in front of him, studying the way the plates and wires stretch when he clenches a fist.
If it wasn't for the angel who saved me, I'd be dead.
Who? Shaking off the lingering remnants of his past, Bash looks at me, that familiar lopsided grin of his sliding back into place.
Now hold up. I told you something about me. Now it's your turn to tell me something about you. Remember our deal?
But I don't...
None of that. I don't remember, Mumbo Jumbo. Make something up if you have to.
I let out a defeated sigh and think for a moment. It's one of the only things I can think of that I know is true. I enjoy spending time with you.
Oh?
His reaction wasn't what I was expecting, and I immediately blush, wishing I had kept my mouth shut. Sorry, I just...
Don't be. I wasn't expecting that.
A breath of relief escapes me, and I smile at him.
I like spending time with you too, Nico. Even if, you don't tell me anything about your past.
That's not fair.
I'm joking. I'm glad to have met you, Nico.
Well, I just told you something. Time for you to spill the tea on that angel.
Do you have anything else to tell me?
I don't think so.
Then I'm not sharing until you do.
That's cheating! Bash's jaw drops, and he slaps a hand over my mouth, staring at me as if I've just committed a crime.
You can't say that word here. They'll think we're, doing that.
Oops. Bash releases his grip on me, and I chance a glance at Oppo's goons, who haven't appeared to have heard anything out of the ordinary. Sorry, should have thought of that.
Don't worry, I don't think anyone overheard. But still, I'm not sure a casino is your kind of place, my friend.
I chuckle, but notice his attention has already drifted back to the tables, and I realize that I've had my fill of gambling for the night. I'm gonna leave you to chase that mythical jackpot. Just leave the ship out of your bets, okay?
Aye aye, Captain Nico.
Waving goodbye to him, I look around, trying to decide what to do next. I should probably check on Ayame and make sure she hasn't injured anyone. Before I can even make it across the room, I'm interrupted by a deep voice and a figure rushing towards me.
Nico, I've been looking for you everywhere. Have you seen Riona?
She went outside for some air, but... June, what's going on? I pull on June's arm, who's already striding back to the door in search of Riona, and stop him in his tracks.
Just follow me.
I do as he says, rushing behind him through the crowd to try and keep up. We find Riona just outside the building, who immediately stiffens at the sight of June's thunderous face.
What's happened?
It's Ayame.